Welcome to English for You, and we are here talking about an interesting unit today called Impossible Builds. I'm Kat.
And I'm Seb. So, Kat, where do you prefer to live, the city or the countryside?
That's a tough one. If I had to choose between the two, I do like the city. I live in Taipei, and Taipei is great because while it's a city, it has a lot of access to nature. So I really like being able to go from, big buildings and a lot of nightlife and activity to somewhere quiet like a mountain that you can hike up. That's why Taipei is so great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'd have to say I'm also a bit of a city kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love the city.
Yeah.
All the tall buildings, the drama, the chaos. I think I'm a little bit more, downtown.
Oh,
than
yeah.
I'm not always, up for going out into nature. Mm-hmm. But one place that I do love is Hong Kong.
Oh.
I love that dramatic skyline. It has beaches. It has so much going on, restaurants, bars, cafes.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. And did you know that it's got more than 8,000 towers?
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I can believe it, though, because I hear that Hong Kong, instead of growing out, keeps growing up.
Yeah.
So actually, that's what we're going to be looking at today, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the article, and we're going to see, why are we talking about towers? Let's find out.
Reading.
Impossible builds. As cities develop, their streets become filled with diverse structures, ranging from apartment buildings to hotels to skyscrapers. Most of these are ordinary buildings, but the ones on Discovery Channel's Impossible Builds will blow your mind. On this show, architects and engineers use revolutionary techniques and materials to create amazing structures, including huge high-rises and houses on the sea. The projects may seem impossible. However, the developers believe they can bring their visions to life. The first project is the Heart of Europe, built on 6 islands off the coast of Dubai, UAE. Developer Joseph Kleindienst plans to build 5-star hotels on them, but it's a difficult environment to work in. Temperatures can reach 40 degrees Celsius, and there's no shade, electricity, or drinking water on the islands. What's more, the islands aren't made of rock, but of sand, which workers first have to compact. Only when the sand is stable can they begin construction. Kleindienst has already spent millions of dollars, but will he be able to achieve his dream?
Okay, so we're starting off this article by looking at things about cities. So it says, as cities develop, their streets become filled with diverse structures, ranging from apartment buildings to hotels to skyscrapers. So it sounds like we're talking about a lot of different things, but the first one we're talking about is structures. So structure is a noun, and it just talks about almost anything that's built. It especially talks about large things like bridges, towers, buildings, or this is my favorite English word ever, gazebos.
It is a great word.
It's such a fun word to say, gazebo. It's just like in the park where you have that roof that you can sit under and play games. Anyway, talking about structure, this is the countable form of structure because it talks about physically built things, one structure, two structures. However, structure is an uncountable noun or countable noun can mean just how different parts connect to make up one big idea or thing, like the structure of our company or the structure of the brain. But we're talking about structures like buildings and bridges. So here's an example. The new structure in the city center will stand at over 300 meters tall. Apparently, there's a lot of those kinds of tall structures in Hong Kong, like you said, right?
Yeah, 8,000 of them.
Wow.
So some of the structures, the biggest structures you can find are skyscrapers. You know, that's the most special thing about Hong Kong. It's skyscrapers.
Wow.
That's our second vocabulary word of the day. It's a noun, and you've probably seen one today if you live in a city, especially if you live in Taipei.
Of course.
That's because skyscrapers are very tall buildings that can reach high above the rest of the city. Actually, the word skyscraper is quite easy to remember because it's made up of two words, sky and scrape, which is like to touch. So if a building touches the sky or scrapes the sky, it must be pretty tall, right? That's why we call them skyscrapers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our example sentence is, Taipei 101 is the tallest skyscraper in Taiwan. Yeah.
So, yeah, Taipei 101 is very tall. In fact, isn't it like the 11th tallest building in the world now?
Yeah, it used to be the tallest.
Like that.
It used to be the tallest.
For a little while it was, yeah.
Anyway, so going back to our article, the next sentence is, most of these are ordinary or normal buildings, but the ones on Discovery Channel's impossible builds will blow your mind. Blow your mind. What does that mean?
Well, I think we're going to find out, so we can go to Pocket Phrase Go.
Pocket Phrase Go!
Hola, I'm Dora. 我就是爱冒险的朵拉。我的好朋友们，你们准备好跟我一起冒险吗？今天我们要一起去一个神秘的宫殿冒险了。We're going to a mysterious temple today. I'm sure what's inside it will blow your mind. 相信神殿里的一切肯定会让你印象深刻。我们很常看到网络文章写说13亿小伙伴们都惊呆了，这个惊呆了很兴奋很印象深刻，我们就可以用这个片语 blow one's mind。 例如刚刚说神殿里的东西 will blow your mind， 会让你很惊奇，让你印象深刻。或者是呢像这个神奇的水果The flavor of this strange fruit really blew my mind. 它神奇的味道真是让我印象深刻啊。Blow one's mind， 让人惊奇的意思哦。
Okay, so that's what blow your mind means. But you know that there's another way to say blow your mind. When you want to put it as an adjective, you can say something is mind-blowing. Like, wow, Victoria's so good at singing. Her voice is mind-blowing.
Wow.
So why are these buildings going to blow our minds, though? Well, let's find out. On this show, architects and engineers use revolutionary techniques and materials to create amazing structures, including huge high-rises and houses on the sea. Wow. So I think high-rise is another word for skyscraper, right?
It is. It is. And those high-rises are being designed by architects. So who are these strange-sounding people? Basically, an architect is someone who designs buildings. Some examples of famous architects include Zaha Hadid or Antonio Gaudi, who designed the famous Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.
Oh, that's one of my favorite buildings.
One?
Yes.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
And it's got a really interesting history, too. The Sagrada Familia is so amazing, and Gaudi's work is really mind-blowing. Also, the type of work that architects do is called architecture. So you add U-R-E to architect, and then you get architecture. So another word that we might want to talk about in this sentence is revolutionary. This is an adjective that means something is completely new and different in a really exciting way, and usually a really good way. We call things revolutionary if they had the ability to totally change the way we do something. Like the internet was revolutionary when it came out. It changed how people talk to each other and how we get information. A revolutionary technique in architecture might totally change the way people build things.
Perhaps that's the point of this show then.
Agree.
So next, the article says that the projects, that's high-rises and the houses on the sea, may seem impossible. However, the developers, that's the person or company that makes money by buying and building houses, the developers believe they can bring their visions to life. Okay, so we have a lot of special words in that sentence. The first one is the word seem, which is a very useful verb, which means appear to appear to be. We normally use seem when we want to describe how something appears to us or to express opinions. Have a listen to these two sentences. I think he's angry. He seems angry. So both sentences mean the same thing, that I, the speaker, think that he, whoever he is angry. He might not in fact be angry, but that's how he seems to me. It's also worth noting that we can always use seem with an adjective, not an adverb. So he seems angry, not he seems angrily. Are you okay, Kat? You seem tired.
Oh, gosh. I am kind of tired.
You are.
I feel like I need some tea or coffee to bring me to life. That's another of these phrases in the article. So bring me to life, bring something to life, could mean wake up like me. Or, but in the article, it actually means like make an idea real. If you dream of having a big, beautiful house, and then one day you get that beautiful house, you've brought your dream to life. This can also be for things we can't touch, like getting a job we want, meeting the person we always hope we might fall in love with. Yeah, so bringing something to life. What are they bringing to life here?
Okay, so they're bringing their visions to life. The developers are bringing their visions to life. Visions is our third vocabulary word, and once again, it's a noun. But what does it mean? Well, in this case, vision means our idea about how we think something should be. So, for example, if I have a clear vision of what I want to be when I grow up, it means I know exactly what I want to do, exactly where I want to work, and exactly what kind of job I want. No doubts at all, just like our example sentence. Janet's mother had grand visions of what she should be when she grew up. And she was very strict as a result.
Ooh.
What about you, Kat? Was your mum very strict when you were young? Did she have grand visions of what you should be?
I won't say that my mom had grand visions. She wanted me to do what made me happy. Sometimes my dad had some grand visions of letting me be an engineer like he was, but unfortunately, I'm not too good at that. I still enjoy watching him work, though. Yeah. So anyway, going on with the article, the first project is the heart of Europe, built on 6 islands off the coast of Dubai, UAE. That's United Arab Emirates. So yeah, Dubai's a very big city.
Yes, and the developer of this project, Josef Kleindienst, plans to build 5-star hotels on them, but it's a difficult environment to work in. Okay, so it's not very easy to build on. Why is that?
Well, I guess there's a few different reasons. It says that temperatures there can reach 40 degrees Celsius. That's really hot. And there's no shade, electricity, or drinking water on the islands. That sounds like a really tough place to live. So what are they talking about with shade here, though? Shade is our 4th vocabulary word. And this is something that's really important, especially in hot places like Dubai. When you have an object like a tree, umbrella, or building which is over you, most of the time, if it's in the sun, it will make an area that's in shadow or blocking the sun. When you can stand in the shadow to get out of the sun, the big shadow is called shade. These islands in Dubai don't have many big trees or natural structures that can give shade to people, so it means they always have to stand in the hot sun. That doesn't sound too fun at all.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So here's one more example of that. Kyle got very hot on his morning walk today, so he stopped to rest in the shade of a tree. Shade's very important when it's hot.
It is very important, very important. But that's not the only problem that they have building this project. It says in the article that what's more, the islands aren't made of rock, but of sand, which workers first have to compact. Okay, so it's not a normal island, is it?
No.
It's not like the ground that we're normally standing on. It's much looser, so the workers have to compact it. Compact, which as an adjective is the opposite of loose. Only here, what we're doing is we're using it as a verb. When we compact something, what we are doing is pressing it together so it is smaller and more solid. So think of sandcastles, for example.
Right.
Remember when you were little and you used to go to the beach with your bucket and spade and, make something creative?
Right.
You would dig up the sand and then press it into shape, because that's how you'd make your castle, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you were doing back then was you were actually compacting the sand. And that's what Joseph is doing. He's just compacting a lot more sand.
So it's like making a giant sandcastle, almost.
It is, yeah.
Interesting. So it says, only when the sand is stable can they begin construction. Mm-hmm. Stable. Stable is an adjective here that means something is not going to move, it won't wiggle around, and it won't give way under your feet. It'll just stay in one place, very still, very solid and strong. Sand usually sinks or moves out of the way if you put something on it, so unless it gets compacted, it's not going to be stable.
No.
Something hard and thick like rock or cement, though, will probably be a lot more stable. That means the buildings that go on it will be very safe from falling down or moving.
Or sinking into the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want your house to sink into the ground just because it's on some sand. That would be really bad. So here's an example. The kids had a hard time climbing the mountain because the dirt wasn't very stable and it kept slipping and breaking apart under their feet. I've climbed some places like that before. You kind of got to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And ground like that is not very good for construction.
Right.
No, it is not. Which is another very useful piece of vocabulary. Construction we use when we are talking about building things. Okay, very important for this article. So some examples. A construction site is the place where a building is being built. So workers work on a construction site. What's more, if that building is being built but it hasn't been finished yet, then we can say that the building is under construction. And if that building is being finished, then who is working on it? Not just workers, but construction workers. So as you can see, it's a very handy term. Anyway, on to our example sentence. The Sagrada Familia Church in Barcelona has been under construction for 130 years.
Wow.
Did you know that?
Yes, I did. And I heard that they're actually going to finish it very soon, which is great.
Yeah, hopefully. After 130 years.
I know.
Yeah.
The original architect is not alive anymore.
No, he is not. Yeah. And, well, I mean, the Sagrada Familia is a massive project. And it sounds like Kleindienst as well. Our article ends with saying that Kleindienst has already spent millions of dollars, but will he be able to achieve his dream?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
I think we're going to just have to find out by watching the show because
Yeah.
we don't know the answer either. But I have a feeling that, spending so much money and really knowing how to be a good architect, he's probably going to be just fine. All right, so that's all we have in our article for day 1. We're going to come back with day 2, but first, let's go to our For You chat question.
Let's go.
For You Chat.
Okay, so we have looked at the article on day 1, and it talks about these different kinds of building designs and the challenges that they have with doing them. So my question for you, Seb, is what type of building would you like to design, and what would be special about it?
That's a really good question. I think as, cities get bigger and bigger, it's really important for us to find a way to kind of bring nature back into the city.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. So I would want to create something which really harmonizes or mixes together in a good way, the city and the forest. So I don't know if you've seen in Taipei, there is a building called the Double Helix.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a DNA structure.
Yeah, it's a twisting tower covered in trees. And what I would create would be quite similar. It would be, I don't know, I would want to make it a government building or a library, something useful, and I would cover it in trees.
Wow.
Just forests inside, forests outside, something that makes people feel that they are, somewhere that's useful, somewhere where they can get stuff done, but at the same time feel like they are just out there in the forest, far away from their troubles. I think it would be great, great for stress.
That sounds really
and
nice.
Also beautiful, yeah. What about you?
And also the air would be clean inside.
It would be clean, very clean. Very
clean. As for me, I think... I don't know. I kind of thought of something a little bit like what Kleindienst is doing on the islands. Not with the 5-star hotels, but with making a floating city. And actually, when I was in college, I kind of designed something like this where...
Really?
It looked like a big flower. So there were houses on all the petals. And then in the center, there was kind of the entertainment and government buildings. And it was just this huge city that floats on the ocean and makes its own food. And,
so it's sustainable
Oh,
as
yes.
well.
It's self-sustaining. It's independent. Could be its own country, maybe. So, yeah. That's probably what I would do. I think it would cost billions of dollars, but I think it would be really cool.
It sounds like we have some very romantic pie-in-the-sky ideas.
Agree.
Very big visions. Very big visions.
Big visions.
Okay, so I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. But for English for You, I'm Seb.
Yeah, and I'm Kat, and we'll see you for day 2 tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Impossible builds. As cities develop, their streets become filled with diverse structures, ranging from apartment buildings to hotels to skyscrapers. Most of these are ordinary buildings, but the ones on Discovery Channel's Impossible Builds will blow your mind. On this show, architects and engineers use revolutionary techniques and materials to create amazing structures, including huge high-rises and houses on the sea. The projects may seem impossible. However, the developers believe they can bring their visions to life. The first project is the heart of Europe, built on 6 islands off the coast of Dubai, UAE. Developer Joseph Kleindienst plans to build 5-star hotels on them, but it's a difficult environment to work in. Temperatures can reach 40 degrees Celsius, and there's no shade, electricity, or drinking water on the islands. What's more, the islands aren't made of rock, but of sand, which workers first have to compact. Only when the sand is stable can they begin construction. Kleindienst has already spent millions of dollars, but will he be able to achieve his dream?
Vocabulary Review.
Structure. Our office is located in a 40-story steel and glass structure in downtown New York. Skyscraper. The Burj Khalifa, the tallest skyscraper in the world, is a famous tourist attraction in Dubai. Vision. On his first day in office, the president went on television and explained his vision for the country's future. Shade. Stella didn't feel well in PE class, so her teacher asked her to sit in the shade and rest. Stable. That chair doesn't look stable. You may fall if you sit on it. Construction. The new library has been under construction since last year and is scheduled to open this August.